Before we dive in, fair warning, major spoilers are ahead. If you haven't watched The Girlfriend on Amazon Prime yet, maybe hit pause, binge the first 2 episodes, and then come right back. Because I'm about to break down everything, the plot twists, the characters, and why this show feels suspiciously like it was Meghan Markle inspired. All right, now that the spoiler warning is out of the way, I started watching The Girlfriend on Amazon Prime because you guys told me to watch it. And let me tell you, it feels like I just watched the unofficial Meghan Markle biopic, except Amazon swears it's purely fictional. Like, okay, yeah, sure. Because nothing says fictional like British funded series about a manipulative social climber marrying into a rich family while gaslighting the mother-in-law, also known as the firm. Okay, I know. They literally flash a disclaimer in the first episode, and I believe it was only in the first episode. I don't know because I only saw it at the end credits of it. I'll put it up in the screen, but it pretty much just says any resemblance to real persons is purely coincidental and fictional, but come on. It's funded by the British Film Institute and British Film Commission. I'm not saying that the British people did it, but Britain is still healing from the Sussex soap opera. And I'm not saying it's about Meghan, but I'm also not saying it's not about her either. Because when we meet Cherry, the main character, she's beautiful, she's charming, she's mysterious, and has the moral compass of a wet tissue. Cherry is a girl who says is going to get what she wants. And so every version of her story, any story she talks about, changes depending on who's listening. She's a masterclass in pretty privilege meets psychological liar. And honestly, tell me that doesn't sound just a little bit Meghan coded. Just a little bit. Because Meghan does the same thing. She sells this perfectly curated package narrative, but every time she retells it, the details kind of shift. Just enough to keep the audience guessing. And we have heard also that what Meghan wants, Meghan's gonna get. Just like Cherry, Meghan knows how to weaponize vulnerability. And while most people see through it eventually, there's always that one person, or in Daniel's case, one prince who falls for the act completely. If you haven't watched the series, Daniel comes from a rich family. He's the son of 2 wealthy people. And the father's name is Howard, and then the mother's name is Laura. So you're going to hear me talk a lot about Laura. It's going to be Laura, Daniel, and Cherry, aka Meghan Markle in our case. Cherry meets Daniel, the naive, sheltered guy who doesn't realize he's about to trade his future for a fairy tale that only exists in Cherry's head. He's blindsided by her charm, completely under her spell, and Cherry knows exactly what to say to keep him there. She feeds him sweet nothings, whispers what he wants to hear, and before long, Daniel is convinced she's his savior, not his downfall. And honestly, if this doesn't scream Harry, I don't know what does. Because just like Meghan, Cherry knows how to play the rescuer and victim card at the same time. She positions herself as the only person who truly understands him, while quietly isolating him from everyone else that knows him. And before Daniel even introduces Cherry to his mother, he tells his mom, "She reminds me of you." Let that sink in.
She's insanely clever. She's stunning. She's ambitious. She's funny. I mean, frankly, she's perfect. I actually think you really like her. You remind me of her.
She reminds you of me.
He compares his mother, the woman who raised and protected him and generally loves him, to the woman who's about to destroy his peace, his family, and everything he values. The similarities here are just hilariously funny because remember, Harry has the same thing. that Meghan reminds him of Diana. And sure, maybe he meant it as a compliment, but let's be honest, it's also painfully Freudian with the Oedipus complex. It's like he subconsciously is trying to save his mother through Meghan. And while Meghan, like Cherry, uses that emotional vulnerability to her full advantage. And when Daniel's mother, Laura, starts noticing the cracks, Cherry does what Meghan did best. She reframes everything. Suddenly, Laura's jealous, overbearing, loving mother is the problem. It's that emotional echo chamber where love becomes dependency, and the only voice he hears is Cherry's. Meanwhile, Daniel's mom, Laura, sees right through it. She's protective, skeptical, and let's be honest, the only person in the room that sees Cherry for who she is. But of course, Cherry flips the script. Suddenly, Laura is the problem, the jealous one, the overbearing mother who just doesn't get it. Does that sound familiar? Because this is giving major royal rerun energy. Meghan came in immediately, clocked in the power dynamics, and realized that if she couldn't control the room, she could at least control the narrative. And just like Cherry, she made sure that anyone who challenged her, even the family, became the villain in her story. Cherry manipulates with charm. Meghan does it with PR. Same game, different platforms. Now, this is where it gets a lot more interesting because Cherry's web of lies starts small. A little embellishment here, a little convenient omission there, but soon it turns into a full-blown fiction. She tells Daniel her father died when she was 14. Tragic. Except, plot twist, her dad is alive, living in a care home where it's heavily implied that Cherry had something to do with his accident. And honestly, it's given Dija Meghan. Remember when she sat down doing her reality show with Netflix, saying that she lost her father in the midst of all of this? The implication was emotional loss, but she made it seem like a eulogy and that he was gone. Meanwhile, Thomas Marcus was alive and kicking, very much alive, pleading publicly for forgiveness and just wanting to talk to his daughter. But much like Cherry, Meghan's version of events works best when the inconvenient people in her story stay silent. Then Cherry claims she went to this prestigious boarding school, St. Florine's, but when someone casually tests her knowledge, she can't answer the most basic questions. The mask slips. Again, sound familiar because it's giving Northern Western University double major, but the details don't quite line up. You know that gray zone where the resume sparkles more than reality? Yeah. And then we get the fashion moment. Daniel buys Cherry a first-class ticket or upgrades her to business class, something like that. But Cherry cashes it in, buys herself clothes, and hops into Coach instead. Her priorities? Yeah, image always comes first. Tell me that doesn't mirror Meghan stepping out in $1,000 designer looks during her early days. I'm just a simple girl dating a prince era. It's the performance of elegance before earning the throne. Curated luxury on a starter kit budget. What the show The Girlfriend nails, intentionally or not, is that Cherry isn't just lying. She's constructing an identity. Every story, every event, every half-truth is part of her branding. And honestly, if you replace Cherry's coach seat with a Netflix deal and a podcast that never gets renewed, you've got Meghan's post-royal rebrand to a T. But let's not stop there. Cherry's mother in this relationship is the blueprint of understanding her entire personality. Cherry only has her mom in her life, but it's not some cute, wholesome bond. It's controlled, disguised as closeness. Cherry calls the shots, pulls the emotional strings, and Cherry's mother obeys and protects her daughter's image at all costs. And that's where I couldn't help but think of Meghan, because Meghan also presents herself as someone who only has her mother, Doria, And Doria is painted as the calm, wise, spiritual mother who raised her solo, even though we know it was her father. Anyways, that's neither here or there, but the ultimate symbol of grace and grounding is supposed to be Doria. But when you look closer, the narrative feels a little off. Both of these women erase the messy part of their families. Cherry's father doesn't exist, not because he's dead, but because acknowledging him would destroy her image. Meghan's father, same story, inconvenient to the brand. Easier to just rewrite history than face uncomfortable truth. It's manipulative through omission. You don't have to lie outright, you just have to remove who can contradict your version. And for both Cherry and Meghan, that's the ultimate control. Now, here's where it gets a little bit too real. Laura, Daniel's mother, is the only one who actually sees Cherry for who she is. Not the curated version, not the charming, not the poor me act. She sees the manipulation, the contradictions, the way Cherry spins stories to stay in control. Laura doesn't hate her. She's not jealous. She's just aware. But that awareness is exactly what Cherry cannot stand, because people like Cherry, and yes, people like Meghan, thrive in environments where no one challenges their version of events. The moment someone asks a real question, they become the villain. And that's exactly what happened when Meghan entered the royal family. The late Queen, William, Catherine, they weren't instantly cold or cruel. They were just taken back. They saw the newcomer who wanted the rewards before earning the respect. Someone performing authenticity instead of practicing it. And instead of adapting, Meghan pulled a Cherry. She rewrote the story so they became the problem. The royal family in this version, right? The firm became the problem. Cherry gaslights Laura so skillfully that by the end, everyone thinks that Laura's the crazy one. Paranoid, controlling, overbearing. It's the same playbook Meghan used with the palace. Question my motives, and I'll make sure the world sees you as the oppressor. That right there is the power of narrative control. And what is so wild is that Laura's only sin was seeing too much too soon. Just like those early royal advisors and family members who tried to warn Harry, but he didn't want to hear it. Because when you're in love with the illusion, then the truth feels like betrayal. And then the ending hits. Oh my goodness. Laura dies. The only person who ever tried to protect Daniel is gone. He's left standing there, his mother gone, his father quietly watching, and Cherry pregnant. Tell me that doesn't feel so familiar, because what Daniel is left with now is a manipulative partner and a strange family member, and a ghost of a mother who saw everything before it happened. It's giving Harry Montecito energy. His mom, gone too soon. His family is strange. His world built entirely around one woman's version of reality. Daniel's father, much like King Charles, still trying to keep and maintain peace, polite, reserved, maybe even still holding on to hope. But Cherry, just like Meghan, holds the emotional reins. She's the gatekeeper to the child, the storyteller of the family legacy, and the final editor of what the world believes. And that's where The Girlfriend stops being entertainment and starts feeling like a commentary. Maybe even a revenge art on Royal Saga, because the parallels are just too on the nose. The working class entering a wealthy, well-established family, the manipulation masked as love, the mother-in-law who sees through it all but pays the ultimate price for speaking up. Even the tone of the ending, dark, tragic, isolating, feels like a warning. Daniel ends up right where Harry is today, alone, confused, and surrounded by people who benefit from his silence. And maybe that's the unintentional genius of The Girlfriend. It's not just a thriller, it's pretty much a mirror, a reflection of what happens when obsession replaces love and image replaces truth. And now I have to put this comment because I almost left it out. I didn't catch on to it, but it says, oh my God, when watching The Girlfriend and Daniel was asked by Cherry, How he was, he answers, "No one has asked me how I am. Nearly fell off my chair. This character was founded by Megster's profile personality. Maybe this is why Trevor hasn't released a book." Absolutely. If you watch The Girlfriend, you will see little quotes like this that is said by different characters. One of them is the mother. When she meets Cherry, she says, "Oh, we hug here," or "we're huggers," something like that. So yeah, sure. Amazon, tell us how The Girlfriend is purely fictional again, because if Meghan was not the person that inspired the character of Cherry, then who? Because I need to know. What do you guys think? Is this coincidence or carefully coded British shade? Because honestly, this might be the closest thing we ever get to the royal family's revenge documentary, in my opinion. Let me know what you think. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe before you leave, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.